South Korea's military has apologized for its failure to shoot down any of the North Korean drones that crossed over the border. It was the first such incident in 5 years and raised serious questions about Seoul's air defenses. In response, the country's president says he will accelerate plans to create a specialized military unit to deal with drones as tensions increase across the Korean peninsula.
On the hunt, South Korean helicopters scoured the sky for signs of North Korean drones. Authorities here say 5 crossed over the border on Monday, with one flying close to the capital, Seoul. But now the military has been forced to say sorry after failing to shoot them down.
Our military's lack of preparedness has caused great concern. The military will thoroughly check each troop's detection and strike assets against the enemy's drone provocation and actively employ detection devices to spot drones earlier and aggressively deploy strike assets.
South Korea's President Yoon Suk-yeol, who has vowed to take a harder line on the North, has used the moment to fast-forward his plans, telling a cabinet meeting that the military's training and readiness has been insufficient for years.
We have a plan to create a military drone unit tasked with monitoring key military facilities in North Korea. We'll advance the establishment of the drone unit as soon as possible. We'll also introduce state-of-the-art stealth drones and bolster our surveillance capabilities.
Across the border in Pyongyang, leader Kim Jong-un is capping the year by meeting with key members of his ruling party, where he's hailed the country's growing economic and military power. The North has fired a record number of missiles in 2022, with this latest drone incident adding to growing concerns across the region.
Journalist Frank Smith is monitoring the situation in Seoul there. Frank, the military itself has acknowledged its response to the drones was inadequate. What does it say about South Korea's air defenses?
Well, I think it says that South Korea's air defenses are sorely lacking. They were pursuing these drones for something like 5 hours. When they launched a propeller aircraft from the center of the peninsula to try to intercept these drones, it actually crashed. The 2 pilots had to eject from that aircraft, so there were a lot of problems with South Korea's pursuit of these. They shot at least some of the drones, didn't manage to shoot any of them down. This is concerning here in South Korea. Analysts say that North Korea has something like 300 to 1,000 drones, and they do represent a surveillance risk, if not an attack risk, based on their size. In 2017, a drone was found here in South Korea that had traveled something like 200 kilometers south of Seoul to photograph an anti-ballistic missile, a U.S. anti-ballistic missile base here. So this type of activity from North Korea, should they succeed in gaining better surveillance information on the south side of the border, it does more to decrease the amount of time that South Korea would have of an imminent North Korean attack, and also increase the potential risk of some type of miscalculation on the Korean peninsula, as we've seen through North Korea's development of hypersonic missiles, cruise missiles, and submarine-launched ballistic missiles. This increases the risk as it decreases the amount of warning of some type of imminent attack, and that's really what these drones are doing here. Gerhard?
So with this increased risk, what kind of response can we now expect from South Korea?
Well, South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol has said from his campaign, he came to power here in May, he said that he was going to respond to North Korea with a much harder line on North Korea's missile launches. Following North Korea's missile launches, for example, South Korea conducted its own missile launches together with the U.S. South Korea also conducted large-scale military exercises with the U.S. with plans to perhaps conduct the largest ever military exercises to commemorate 70 years of U.S.-South Korea alliance next year. So we're likely to see more large-scale drills here, as well as was mentioned in the report, the development of South Korean drones, more South Korean drones with a bigger budget.
Journalist Frank Smith there in Seoul for us. Thank you, Frank.